As the United States Senate considers Gina Haspel's nomination as director of the CIA, it is time to dispel the narrative about her record. That narrative says that Haspel's involvement in torture, as well as the order she drafted authorizing the destruction of videotapes documenting this abusive practice, was legal and justifiable. Torture, enhanced interrogation, as it was called, was supposedly legal because Justice Department lawyers had given it their blessing at the time, and destroying evidence of it was legal not only because government lawyers said it was, but also because Haspel was just following orders. But Haspel's supporters, many of whom are lawyers, should know better. The faulty advice of government lawyers and bosses cannot make illegal conduct legal. CIA investigations that rely on these specious justifications to excuse her decisions should be given no weight. In 2002, Haspel ran a secret detention site in Thailand, codenamed Cat's Eye, that was known for its use of harsh interrogation techniques that amounted to torture. She was also chief of staff to Jose Rodriguez, director of the National Clandestine Service for the agency. While her exact role in the torture of detainees at Cat's Eye remains unclear, she unquestionably bears some responsibility for the use of so-called enhanced interrogation techniques, including waterboarding, that occurred on her watch. Lawyers from the Justice Department's Office of Legal Counsel wrote memos asserting that waterboarding and other forms of torture were legal. But the rationale these memos provided distorted domestic and international law, and the Justice Department later rescinded them. The legal status of those now abandoned memos has been the source of great confusion, a muddle worsened by former U.S. President Barack Obama, who immunized anyone against prosecution who had acted based on the memos. The Nuremberg trials after the Second World War established that following orders is not a defense for conduct that is patently illegal. Under the Geneva Conventions, torture, like genocide, belongs in that category. A similar principle says that incorrect legal advice cannot shield one from liability when such advice is promoting transparently unlawful conduct. Torture, like genocide, is of such patent illegality that we are entitled to hold all who engage in it responsible, whether they knew it was illegal or not. Under both domestic and international law, a manifestly evil act puts perpetrators on notice they are committing a crime, and they can be held responsible for such knowledge. This has implications for Haspel's role in the agency's decision to destroy videotapes of CIA interrogations. Mike Morrell, then the deputy director, exonerated Haspel in his 2011 memo, arguing that it was not her decision to destroy the tapes, it was Rodriguez's. Morrell's memo, however, should be taken as implicating, not exonerating Haspel, since it confirms her role in the destruction of the tapes. Indeed, Morrell said that he found fault with the performance of Rodriguez in the matter, and issued a letter of reprimand against him, though he imposed no sanctions. Morrell explained this slap-on-the-wrist approach was warranted by the laudable motives Rodriguez had for ordering the destruction of the tapes, namely, to protect against leaks that might set off a backlash similar to the violence that occurred after the release of the photos of torture from the Abu Ghraib prison in Iraq. That kind of reaction might endanger interrogators and damage the CIA's standing, he asserted. The destruction of the videotapes looks much less defensible once it is clear that the tapes contained evidence of legal violations, possibly implicating Haspel herself. That Haspel acted on Rodriguez's orders cannot absolve her from culpability, since it would not be legally or ethically permissible to destroy evidence of known criminal wrongdoing, especially if conducted for the purpose of protecting CIA interrogators who carried out the torture. Haspel's nomination presents a defining moment for the rule of law in the U.S. It raises the question of whether a person engaged in a moral activity while obeying the orders of a superior deserves blame for her actions. The Senate should put zero stock in the moral memo, which reflects the agency's attempt to cover up its own illegal and immoral conduct. Haspel was a participant in this cover-up, and if she becomes the director of the CIA, any remaining documentation of the torture program, and her own role in it will be placed at risk. That morals incriminating memo was released to clear Haspel's name demonstrates the degree to which the agency maneuvers under the cover of law. The agency seems to view destroying evidence of torture as a minor, but well-intentioned perfidy. While no love is lost between U.S. President Donald Trump and American intelligence services, Haspel's fidelity to the agency's involvement with torture, and her confirmed role in covering it up, are evidently appealing to Trump, who has repeatedly stated his belief that torture works. The use of torture and cruel and degrading treatment in the war on terrorism has distorted the U.S. justice system, impaired its reputation internationally and emboldened its enemies. Accountability for misconduct, particularly of America's own agencies, is the first step towards restoring the rule of law. Whether to put the U.S. on the path of restoration or to continue to elide a disgraceful chapter in American history is the choice the Senate now faces. New York Times News Service. Claire Finkelstein is the director and Stephen N. Xenakis is a board member of Center for Ethics and the Rule of Law, CERL, at the University of Pennsylvania.